So in 4th grade, I moved to a new school. And it's a pretty nice school, I'm friends with some people, whatever. Well, we have a substitute coming on a Friday. And on Fridays, everybody gets popcorn at our school. So we're all in class eating our popcorn when the substitute comes up to this girl we'll call Taylor. So the substitute kind of just stands over her and watches her eat her popcorn. And then she goes, "You shouldn't eat that, you're a pig." And dude, she started crying. So she gets up to the front of the classroom and she's like talking about how much we should be eating, practically body shaming a bunch of 4th graders. And she keeps going up to this girl Taylor and just freaking like calling her a pig, calling her nasty, like literally coming for her. And then I think she dropped some on the floor and like, dude, the teacher went off on her. Eventually she got so mad she grabbed a desk and flipped it over. So Taylor was obviously crying for the rest of the day because this teacher was literally body shaming her. So the following Monday when the teacher comes back, we all tell her what happened. And that sub got fired like that.
My super embarrassing school story time. So when I was in 8th grade, I was obsessed with slime, squishies, Orbeez, and I would make crafts all the time. Anyway, I decided to make my own stress ball. And it was like a balloon and then pancake mix. So anyway, the next day I brought it to school and I was so excited because I had my own stress ball. I must have been really stressed that day because I popped it. Pancake mix flew everywhere, all over my classmates. And my crush was in that class. I was so lucky, the bell rang and I skirted out of that classroom. I didn't even clean it up.
One day we were on a field trip to school and I was sitting next to the horse girl named Beth. It was the most depressing ride ever because she kept neighing and making gallop noises with her shoes. She started aggressively eating something, so I looked at her to see her devouring the bus rat that runs across the floor. I started screaming and she was giggling and gobbling that rat like it was a McDonald's double quarter-pounder meal deal large with extra pickles and Sprite. There was blood everywhere and everyone was screaming and she started licking her fingers. I told the bus driver and he pulled over and called the police. It turns out she was mentally ill and she stays at a facility now.
Okay, here's a pretty crazy story time. So when I was in elementary school, we used to do these lockdown drills just in case an intruder came into the school, we would know what to do. We never knew if it was a drill or not. We just had to assume it wasn't. So one time on the announcements, they called a lockdown and we all had to hide in a specific spot in the classroom. This specific time we were doing it, the teacher wasn't in the class. She had left the class to do something and we just had to figure it out by ourselves. Luckily, we had practiced this drill before, so we already knew exactly what to do. So we were all hiding in our spot as we should. About 3 to 4 minutes go by and then the fire alarm goes off. We all looked at each other because we had no idea what to do. So we could either stay in the classroom, be safe from the intruder, but potentially get burned, or we could leave and the intruder would get us. We decided that we could outrun this intruder, so we decided to leave the class. So we all go outside, but no other classes were out there. So we all kind of just stood there in confusion. The alarm stops, so we walk back to our class, and when we got back, our teacher was very mad at us. She said that pulling a fire alarm is a common trick for the intruder to make the kids leave the class. Oh well.
We put our teacher in the hospital. Story time. My 6th grade class was so freaking bad, you guys. I mean, I wasn't, but the rest of the kids were horrible. Our classroom was located on the 2nd floor, so sometimes kids would throw things out the window and try to hit the kids on the ground. And normally it would just be things like pencils or crumbled up pieces of paper, nothing that could really hurt anybody, right? But one day while we were taking a test, my teacher had realized she forgot something in her car, so she left us in the classroom by ourselves. And some kids in my class thought it would be perfect to use this opportunity to cheat. So there was one kid in my class, and we're gonna name him Chris, but he decided to be a lookout, so he stood near the window to keep an eye out for the teacher. Well, when he saw her coming, the rest of the kids weren't done cheating yet, so they told him to cause a distraction. So he runs over to his desk, grabs the biggest textbook he can find, and throws it out the window at the teacher. The book hits her in the face, and it busted her bottom lip open. It was so bad that the school had to send her to the hospital.
One time when I was in high school, we had a teacher sit in on one of our classes, and the teacher who was actually teaching the class was like, "Okay guys, turn to your partner and discuss the assignment," or whatever we were doing. And so I turned to the guy next to me and I started talking about the assignment, and the sit-in teacher comes up to me, snaps in my face to get my attention, and goes, "Stop talking." First of all, I'm just doing what I was told to do. Second of all, just because you're old and a teacher doesn't give you the excuse to be rude. You don't need to snap in my face to get my attention. You could just politely come up and say something like a normal, decent human being. I don't know why, I've just been thinking about that today.
Okay, since you guys asked for it, this is the time that I got dress coded at my little brother's high school when I wasn't a student. And the teacher was very rude to me. So my little brother called me saying, hey, I'm not feeling well, can you come pick me up from school? And I was like, okay, of course, like a good sister, I went to go pick him up. But I went to the front office and I checked him out and they're like, hey, just go get him from his classroom and you guys can just leave. So I was like, okay. So I start heading down the hallway and I realize I actually don't know where his class is. I start calling my brother like, hey, where are you? Where's your class? Like, I'm here. And he's not picking up. From behind me, I hear someone yell, hey, you, over there. So I turn around and he tells me, hey, where are you supposed to be, young lady? And before I can even tell him that I'm here to pick someone up, he tells me, hey, I'm going to have to dress code you. What you're wearing is very inappropriate. And then he kind of starts ranting about what I'm wearing is very distracting and that I wouldn't want to interfere with someone's education. Then he starts telling me, he's like, you don't want any unwanted attention, huh? He's also telling me some other stuff that I don't remember, but I cut him off right there and then. I look him dead in the eye and I tell him, I'm here to pick up my child. His